afternoon is 袁正玉老师 from 丽山高中. Let's welcome them.
One more. I think it will be clearly for us to look at the PowerPoint. Look at the picture. Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Cindy from Lishan High School. And before I make the presentation, I want to express my deep gratitude to this summer program and to have this for me to have this opportunity to stand here to share some experience with you. And I really actually I want to say before I go back to teaching, I have taken an administrative position in my school as the head of student activities for 2 years, and that was a very stressful and exhaustive job. And so last summer I can get the opportunity to recharge myself in SFU. That's quite a relief for me, and really a break time for me, and also to equip myself better when I go back to teaching. So I really appreciate and cherish this opportunity. And the following presentation I'm going to share with you is my action plan, and it's learning in the Wonderland of vocabulary. Actually, I tried to learn this Prezi software a week ago. And so you can find out my information, my PowerPoint handouts on page 106 if you want to get a clear map, clear ideas about my presentation. You can look at start from page 106, and then I will show you the idea. Okay. And also I want to share with you some very impressive quotation that I benefit greatly from the professors or instructors of the SFU program. And for example, one of the professors, Sheila Ronsley, has ever mentioned, create a sense of belonging, community inside your classroom. Make your classroom a place where students feel safe to speak and share. I think it's very meaningful for me, especially when I go back to my school this year. I have been a homeroom teacher as well, and I try to build up a very cozy, comfortable environment for my students, for them to feel relaxed, to share their experience and also enjoy learning. I think enjoy learning is very important for me and also for my students. So I think some ideas really struck on me. And also another quotation from Don Northey, Professor Don. And he mentioned that always provide students with opportunities to cooperate and emphasize their individual difference. So as a teacher, we have to focus on the individuality of each student. We have to notice that each one of them has their own potential, and so we have to create some activities for them in class, help them to cooperate together and to learn together. And also, learning and teaching is art, and teachers should adopt different tools of assessment. So multiple assessment is also very important for us to evaluate our students' performance. So that's why, based on these ideas and inspirations, we start to design our action plan. And okay, let me move on. Okay, so as my school is located in Taipei. Lishan High School is labeled as a science high school. Actually, we have a very particular curriculum, that's school-based curriculum. So every student have to focus on one subject that they have interest and to make a research on that for almost 2 years. So including the maybe the math or science and Chinese, earth science, and also English. So we have this kind of subjects for students to choose from. And so I think we have lots of space for students to focus on a kind of inquiry-based learning. Okay, and except that our students, because they focus more on the science, so sometimes they may lack interest in learning English. Okay, so I think for me as an English teacher, it's very important to get them motivated in learning English, especially in class. And so since this year I teach the 10th graders in our school, and I think the vocabulary is very crucial for them as the basic brick for them to learn English. So we start to focus on the vocabulary acquisition. We hope help them to have more interest and to learn English more effectively, start from learning vocabulary. Okay, and also I want to, okay, these are all the participants. I learned a lot. I really appreciate that these participants in this summer program, because within the 5 weeks, we take not only intensive courses, but also share very precious experience about teaching and also about the class management. Lots of things we can share. So I think from them, not from the course itself, but also from these partners, I benefit greatly. So we formed a team, and 4 of us come from a different school. So we work together and we share the ideas, and everyone is also excited. She's joined us some of the time, and we really appreciate this opportunity. Although we come from a different school, but when we come back to Taiwan, we still share experiences through the phone call or email. And during the process of carrying on the project, carrying on the action plan, we will make a discussion about the difficulty we encountered and try to figure out or come up with the new ideas or any inspiration that we can solve the problems. So I think we build up a strong bond among one another. So I really appreciate that. Okay. And so for my action plan, we want to focus on the vocabulary teaching, and so we want to improve students' vocabulary acquisition through vocabulary enhancement activities. So we set up the goals, and the goal seems very far. So we set up the goals. It's just like mountain climbing. The goal is far away on the top of the mountain, and we want to reach the goal. From the very beginning. Okay, but go back to the goal. The goals, we set up our goals with students' vocabulary acquisition improves significantly through a series of cooperative learning activities. And students can get motivated and have positive attitude toward English vocabulary learning. So these are the goals we set. So based on the goals, we believe that the students, the vocabulary acquisition can improve through activities which allow students to expose to words repeatedly. And students should be encouraged to guess the meaning of context instead of looking up every word. So they can just use their imagination or their basic original understanding of the other words to figure out what does the new word means. And activity itself makes students the center of active learning. So So make the students as the center of active learning process instead of passive receivers. And students can develop a vocabulary in creative writing. Okay, so we believe that our students are capable of doing that. So we designed our actions, our activities. And the theories we base on the cooperative learning, multiple intelligence, and multiple assessment, and of course our teamwork brainstorming. So based on this, the theory or the inspiration that we have got from this summer program, we designed a strategy for to integrate the strategies into our activities. The strategies include cooperative learning, multiple intelligence, and assessment. And the resources, because 4 of us come teaching a different high school, so we use the textbook, maybe the different version. Take myself for example, I teach Sanming version. Okay, and the others may teach in Longton or Yuandong. We use the different textbooks, and we will offer the handouts. And then we will design the student self-assessment rubrics and students' reflection forms. So here are the resources we will offer to students while carrying out the action plan. And the procedures are okay, we apply the 3 different activities for students in learning language, in learning vocabulary, and also share the outcome, the schoolwork, especially the last one, creative writing. Share the writing work with the whole class, and complete and collect the assessment rubrics and forms after the activities, and analyze the results of the rubrics and forms as my reference in the following teaching procedures. Okay, so let me give you more details about how to process this action plan. So the activities, we have designed 3. All the activities focus on vocabulary. So we have hard match. It's very fun and fascinating in practicing. And give one to get one. And creative writing. Okay, so each activity focuses on a different, differently. So hard match focus on the words and the definition, the relation of the words and definition. And for the give one to get one, we focus on the ability of making a sentence, use the words to make a sentence. And creative writing is more advanced, to push them to write a whole paragraph, and also apply their imagination into writing. So for the first activity, hard match, you can see it's quite easy and interesting to do it. So you can just make a paper, heart-shaped paper. Okay. And one side with the words, the other side with the definition, and you cut it in half. Okay. So it's quite easy to make it. Let's see the details of it. So we make a paper heart first, and we attach the vocabulary and the definition on the 2 different sides. And decide the number of the hearts. Okay. And also decide the number of your students. And scramble them randomly and distribute the half heart to your students. And ask the student to read it, maybe silent reading on their own. Okay, so to make sure that they understand what the word or what the definition is. And then mingle around. So when you set a time limit, the student can start to work around, to mingle around, to find out their match. Okay, if he got the vocabulary, he have to look for the appropriate definition. And if he take the definition, you have to look for the words. Okay, so it may take maybe 10 minutes for them to operate it. Okay, when they find their matches half, each pair read them aloud. Okay, so they can they can just read it now, or they can also, you can, if they can make it quick, you can also ask them to make a sentence. Okay, so they will practice their verbal ability to read it out and also to make the sentence. Okay, and that's the result. When I have done this activity, I think students get excited, and because before I carry out the activity, I say we will have a quiz for the vocabulary, and they feel, wow, terrible, frustrated. But when I take out all these hard shapes, they're just surprised about it. Okay, so they really have fun in doing this, and also have very strong impression on the words and the definition of the words. So I think this kind of activity is very effective to make them get a deeper impression on the words. And it's also easy to operate it. And the next is give one to get one. The second activity we design, give one to get one. Okay. So we just prepare our slip of words. The slip. Okay, the paper slip. So each student can so each slip has a new word on it. So when each student gets one slip, he can also look at the words again and think of the definition of the words and try to make a sentence on the back of the slip. Okay. And they can, each student make a sentence based on understanding the definition of the word and keep it in mind. And except the slip, I will also give students checking sheets. Okay, let me show you. Okay, within the checking sheets, I will give one example as the first one, as an example, like struggle. After, sorry, is that clear? Okay, so number one is the example I gave to them. After a long struggle of hard working, I entered Lishan High School. Some sentence like this is quite authentic experience for them to have the sentence. And so each one of them should make this kind of sentence and based on the words that they got on the slip. And then they have to exchange the slip and also exchange the sentence. And when they get another slip, they have to write down a sentence on their checking sheets. Okay. And after they complete all sheets, I will play the bingo game with them. Okay. I will play the bingo game, and I will set a time limit for them to collect the words, and each student has to find one classmate each time, interpret his word and sentence, and exchange their slips. Both of them have to record, have to write down what the other has shared with him. And I will pause the activity every 5 minutes to check students' engagement in case they were too excited and busy in talking. Okay, so I will check how does the activity goes on their checking list. How many words have they collected so far? And when the time is up, I can select the words and read them out randomly to play bingo game with the students. And the one who is the winner will be rewarded. Okay, so I think the strategy of activity includes multiple intelligence, because such as verbal intelligence, kinesthetic intelligence, interpersonal and intrapersonal, because students make the sentence on their own, and some of them even make fun in the sentence making. Some of them even make fun of their classmates. So usually I will ask them to read out their sentences. You will make the whole class laugh. For example, like horrified. So they will make sentence like Vincent's face horrify everybody. Okay, like this kind of joke. Okay, so within this activity, I think they can learn how to make sentence effectively, and also to see how they understand the words and how to use the words into sentence. For the following activity, I asked them to select at least 5 words from the new unit to write a paragraph. So I asked them to select at least 5 words from the text to make up a new story. Okay, and I will help revise them and read them out aloud to the whole class, in order to help them appreciate each other's creativity of various genres of stories. Some of them are really funny and humorous, and some of the writing really show their viewpoints or aspect on some certain events, which also impressed me a lot. For example, this is the writing from Laura, and she wrote a story about like a Greek mythology. Dionysus was often drunk. When he was drunk, he would play tricks and make someone scream. Okay, so the vocabulary are from Phantom of the Opera, the story. One day Zeus turned up suddenly while Dionysus was scaring a child away. Then he yelled at Dionysus angrily. He said that he wanted to turn Dionysus into the ghost. Dionysus was scared, so he promised Zeus that he would be a good god forever. Okay, so it's very funny, and I don't know why he thought of this, but there's one point is their summer reader is the Greek mythology. So maybe that's a reminder or inspiration for her to write this kind of story. Very interesting. Another one is very, it's like a fancy or creepy story. He said in 1886 there was a robber group called Hell Lantern in America. They had their own custom that they called Halloween Killoween. The members of the group were all Irishmen and they were not immigrants. Their ancestors had immigrated to America before their descendants were born. Most people who knew this group wouldn't want to see them in their lifetime. Of course, the power of the group leader was very dangerous. The group had more than 1,000 people. So it looks like a gangster story. Okay. And another one, which also impressed me a lot, is about the insanity. Okay. And this, Johnny wants to make a comment on the insanity phenomenon just through his writing. I think it's brilliant. The news, the papers, and the media now are all talking about an Asian American NBA player, Jeremy Lin, after the disturbing news about Makio. But hey, the insanity is for real. Jeremy Lin continues to wow the crowds and stun announcers. He amazed me not because he's a Taiwanese, but because of the media's description about him, diligence and courage. Lin is doing a good job so far. I wish the audience of fans in Taiwan don't take Lin's performance as a circus show. Okay, circus is the vocabulary for this unit. Just like they did it to Wang, okay, Wang Jianming, the baseball player. And if you guys are really proud of him, you can just be proud of him and continue to follow him. Do not just say, wow, yeah, you are Taiwanese, making it as an advertisement of Taiwan. When he fails for performance, you guys totally don't care about it. So make a change and cheer up for him out of your heart. Okay, so I think this student is very smart in observing the phenomenon of insanity and give his personal comments on it. It's really brilliant. Or sometimes I will make their writing and not just written out. I will also make it like a dictation. Okay, so I will read to them. I will give this sheet for them and ask them to write down some words as a test, and also ask them to make a guess what the word is. Okay, so sometimes it's very funny, like this one. Since I lied to my girlfriend once, she's angry at me all the time. I tried to leave a note to her, but she still didn't forgive me. I thought she didn't take care about me or love me anymore. One day, I witnessed that she walked close to another boy. Besides, she even kissed him. I felt very depressed, so I decided to go. Can you guess what word does he use? Actually, he said, I decided to go shopping every day to repair my broken heart. Okay, it's very funny because it's written by a boy. Okay, so when I read all this paragraph, everybody laughs, and we have a new look on him. Okay, and after this activity, I will ask the student to write down the assessment rubrics or the reflection form. So, the rubrics is like this, self-assessment rubrics. We want to make it as interesting as possible without any pressure to write it on. And also want them to have a review on what they have done in class. So the rubrics designed like this. This criterion is expectation, okay? And focus, I show consistent effort in learning English, or I check meanings and spelling of difficult words. I use all the resources available to help my learning. I know what I do well, I know what I need to improve. Okay, we try to use these rubrics to help them to have a review of what they have learned in this semester. And they are instructed to have a self-reflection on their English learning attitude and habits. So there's another reflection form like, do you like this activity? Why or why not? Okay, and please write down what you did for your group in this activity. If we have this activity again, what do you think you can do for your group? Okay, so these are the reflection and assessment rubrics we designed for our students after the activity to evaluate their own performance in the activity. So students are encouraged to examine their own progress in English. And according to the results or to the forms that they wrote, I found that students enjoyed interaction, especially the teacher and students interaction and their peer interaction in class. The students enjoy varieties, especially the variety teaching or activity in class. And students become more motivated and try to keep sober, keep awake in class. And students found activities helpful for them to memorize new vocabulary, especially the funny writing or the interesting sentences they have made. So students could reflect on and examine their own learning process honestly and reasonably. Students gradually can improve in English in some certain aspect. Okay, so the chart shows shows how they react to their own performance. Okay, but for this part, I know how to apply what I have learned. I found that almost 20% of them find it's seldom or it's hard for them to apply the words into writing. So maybe it's still very difficult for them. It takes time for them to make progress in this aspect. Otherwise, they can use their own resources available to help their learning. I think the students in my school have this kind of research ability to find out the answer by themselves. Okay, so I don't think it's very difficult. It's a small project that is applicable in your own class, in your own teaching. Hope you can try it. I really thank again for my team members and all the participants from the summer program, and I really expect that my students can keep on enjoying learning, and I myself can also get improved in teaching. Okay, thank you. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's really wonderful to see still we have so many teachers here. Okay, my topic is get the 10th graders to write, beginning with guided general writing. And I'm from Wuling High School at Taoyuan. As you know, our school is kind of top school at Taoyuan County. It means that most of our students are, they are very outstanding at their academic performance. But that doesn't mean they are that smart when it comes to group working, or teamwork. Okay. In today's presentation, I'm going to tell you the theory behind my action plan and where I get the inspiration and what I want to reach in my action plan and the process involved in the teaching and the outcome, and at the end, my reflection on my action plan. Okay, so here we go. The theoretical framework I get is from one of our instructors at the education program at SFU, Rhonda Philpott. She told us that we, as a teacher, we teach who we are. So as our previous teachers show, in our activity, Rhonda Philpott tried to help us to figure out our belief in teaching, and she told us that personal identities have a lot to do with personal belief when it comes to teaching and learning. Okay? And good teaching cannot be reduced to technique. Good teaching comes from identity and the integrity of the teacher. Okay? Besides, according to many research or studies conducted by different scholars, they find self-esteem plays a very important role when it comes to learning. When students they feel that they have more connection. They can build up a community inside their learning environment. Actually, they can perform better academically, and and they would become emotionally stable. Okay. So based on the theory on this, when the linguistic performance and emotional well-being of the students definitely play an important role when students are learning something. Okay. And when I started to design my action plan, actually I was struggling because as a teacher, the pressure from exams, students, they are really under pressure from exams, especially my students. They are just beginners at senior high school. They still need a lot of time adjusting the new life here. So I think, what can I do to strike the balance between, the action plan I'm supposed to accomplish, and also help them to feel more comfortable when they learn English. So the inspiration I got first is from Ronald Philpott's Foundation of Teaching and Learning. Okay, so a good teacher should help the students web connections among themselves and the topics, the things around them, okay, and the students. Okay, and another inspiration I got is from Sheila Rosley's Creating Community in the Classroom. In our first week, Sheila Rosley asked us to make a name tag, and she even guided us to write on front points. To be frank, to tell you the truth, before I fly from Taiwan to Vancouver, I felt that I would learn a lot of activities and techniques to help my students to learn better. I never expect that when I turn into the student, I would experience kind of personal shock so much. When Rosalie asked us to write something about ourselves, I really feel very, very uncomfortable. Okay, I don't like to talk about myself, except with my husband or my family members. And at that moment, Sheila Rosalie asked all of us to share our points. Unfortunately, I was called by the teacher to read out my points. And that night, the moment after the program finished, I still feel there's a lot of shocks, a lot of things inside my mind. And suddenly I find out, unless I accept who I am, otherwise I couldn't teach or learn better. And this what drives me to this small incident helped me to set a goal for my action plan. Okay, so this is the goal. First, I would like my 10th graders to feel comfortable to write in English, and especially write something about themselves and their life. Okay. Maybe they will experience some anxiety or discomfort just I have experienced before. But I hope that after my action plan, I can help them to become they will become more willing and more confident to share important people, places, or memories important to them. Okay, in the process of their growth. And this will help them to build up strong confidence and even respect for others. Since I focus on journal writing, I think my action plan is very practical. If you are the homeroom teacher, and every week we have a class meeting, and if you don't know what to do, actually you can design some guided journal and have students to do the pair work to share something important to themselves. You know, students are very willing to share something about themselves. They are eager to tell their classmates everything about themselves. Okay, they want to feel that they are part of the group. Okay, and you know, as this is their first year to senior high school, so you know, if I give them general writing, free writing, I know the result would be kind of chaotic. So I try to give them some guidelines. I will show you in the following PowerPoint. Okay, and I just told them that there's no pressure at all. This is not the test. Okay, the goal for our journal writing is to entertain readers, to tell something funny about yourself, and to tell your classmates, reader means your classmates, something about yourself, and it would also provide an outlet for your positive or negative emotions. Okay, and following other worksheets I adopted. Okay. So first, at the beginning of semester, I let them finish the interest survey. It's very easy to talk about your interests. Everybody has their own hobbies and interests. Okay, this is a very good icebreaker. And then I change it into people research. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a 6-man worksheet I do. Now I'm going to tell you more details about it. And you know, my action move plan actually didn't take up too much time in real class activity. I usually conducting my action plan in the class meeting hours. Okay. Sometimes I would ask students to finish the worksheet at home, or I would give them 10 minutes to finish the fill out the forms and then have a short discussion with each other. Okay. And sometimes I would invite some volunteers to share their ideas, or even if they are reluctant to share, then they can just talk about people in their own group. Okay. And actually, there's no fixed process. As the teachers, we can adapt it. We can make kind of any arrangement as you like. You can you don't have to follow the process step by step. Okay. So at the beginning of the class, I have students finish this worksheet. This is a doc on a book. Okay. This is called Students' Interest Survey. I ask almost everything a teenager usually do, like their favorite things, what do they like to do in their spare time, their favorite video games, sports, food, even candy, TV shows, favorite movie, actor, singer, website, radio station, okay, and their dream in the future. And they even have to find out 3 adjectives to describe themselves. And they have to think of 2 of their friends. Okay. Even though the contents in the survey seems unrelated, but actually, when students hand in their homework or their journals, I started to design the yes/no questions on the people research. Okay. People research is the activity that one of our instructors down have get us to involve us to break the ice. So here, students walk around to ask yes/no questions. Okay, all the questions was adopted from their interest survey worksheet. I turned it into yes/no questions like, is PE class your favorite class at school? Do you want to be a banker or doctor, scientist when you grow up? by designing a yes/no question, actually I want students to feel not that nervous or not that intimidating when they started to talk with their classmates. And the result was really, was really good. Students, those who are outgoing started to talk loudly, and they even have their laughters in my class. Okay, and some of them mentioned that they feel more comfortable and they really like the new class a lot. Okay, so here's one of the students, the form he filled in. So people research is a very good activity for students to have meaningful interaction with peers, and they can exchange information. They can know each other better. And most of all, it's time for them to practice. They can have oral conversation, oral interaction with their classmates by using yes/no questions. And they, the one who answers the question just need to answer yes or no. They won't feel that intimidating to answer the whole question. Okay. And next, I give them all I need to do in list. Okay. I want them to list the countries they hope to go, or most of transportation they like to take, and the outdoor activities they like to have, and sports again they like to try, and their dream jobs. Students at top schools, their daily life is overwhelmed with textbook study, cram school. Sometimes they really don't have time to think about what they would like to do in their free time or their wildest dreams. Or they really they are under very their parents have very high expectations of them. Okay, and they really under high pressure because they also have really high expectation of themselves. So their everyday life is about scores, grades. So by this activity, I would like them to just just relax, okay, just calm down, think about things that they really like to do, okay. So this is students' work, okay. So in this journal, students set whimsical goals for the future. Some say they would like to be a police officer, and some say they would like to be a lawyer. And some say they like to go to the Arctic Circle. Okay. Okay. All right. And next activities, I want them. The previous two activities focus on more casual topics. Okay. In order to let them know that writing is not that difficult, and actually. You don't have to worry about grammatical rules. Just relax and have fun. Write down whatever you want. And here I would like to focus on their relationship with others. So here is the worship planetary system. So here they have to draw their own planetary system. And there is the center of the world. There is sun. Okay, and who is the Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto in their world. I think activities like this really help them to learn the name of the 9 planets without knowing it. They actually learn the name of 9 planets, but for them they relate their own personal relationship to the planetary system. This is some of my students' work. Okay, I also want them to describe the merits and dismerits, okay, strengths and shortcomings of their family members or friends. So they have to think about some adjectives or nouns, and they also have to think of some details to support their ideas. Okay. Okay, so here are some sentences made by my student. This student say that his his grandfather is like Neptune because he didn't live with her family, but her grandparents always encourage me, but they think too much and stop me from doing things I like. Okay, so they started to use the sentence pattern they learned from the textbook. And one of the students mentioned her friends are just like Saturn. They have a lot of hobbies and favorite things in common. So students try to apply the sentence pattern they have learned in textbook, have something in common, and they would also have fun drawing those pictures. Okay. And then after returning their journal, next I want them to focus more on something deep inside them. Okay. Actually, this is the format. This is the point that I was required to finish in the first week at SBU by our instructor Sheila Ronsley. Okay. And it talks about something in your home, repeated saying from your parents, items in your yard, foods and dishes at family gatherings, items in your neighborhood, and places where childhood memories are kept, relatives and other things come to your mind. Okay. A student have to, actually you can do them individually, but we encourage them to, have discussion in a group of 2 or 3, okay? And they jot down anything they come to their mind without worrying about grammatical errors, okay? So this is students, what they share, okay? And I found out that most parents say eat more or go to bed, do your study most of the time, okay? All right. So it seems that our parents in Taiwan don't change, okay, with the times. That's what my parents told me to do when I was a teenager, okay? All right. Okay. And, by giving them a format like this, I have a big goal in my mind. I want to prepare my students to working on narration and description. Okay, when they come to 11th grade, okay, they can have a lot of topics to write. Anything in one block can become a topic for the paragraph writing. Okay, they are doing it without knowing it. Okay, and this is some of students. Okay, some of girls, they really have a lot to share, and this is a very good opportunity for them to write down things in their mind. Okay. Okay, so from their words, I really learn. Students are willing to share their own experiences when they are provided with appropriate opportunity, and they really need an outlet to express their emotions. Sometimes they may have a fight with or quarrel with their classmates or siblings that day, and they come home in a very bad mood. But when they can write down something about their experiences, actually, it's a good way for them to reflect on their life. And finally comes to the final product. I want them to make an ABC point and all the content can be adapted from all the worksheets, that I have provided them in the previous worksheets. We have to interest survey. We have to I hope to do list, and we have to do the planetary system. I want them to combine all of those things they have written and make it an ABC point. is a cooperative outcome of all my class. My class consists of 45 students. Okay. So I find out the one that really related to what we are doing on our worksheet. Okay. So let me read some of you for you. A is for my ambition to reach the highest peak, Mount J in Taiwan. B is for believe in yourself, the repeated saying from my parents. And before they wrote the ABC poem, I told them that you have to use the adjective clause. Okay, because we have learned adjective clauses in the textbook, and they really do a very fantastic job. E is for English, the confusing language to me. F is for family and friends who are important to me. H is for the Hunger Games series, my favorite novel. Okay. So this is not a complete sentence, but they try to write on something meaningful in their life. So this is the final product. Okay, and before the action plan, I give them some, assessment form. But actually, in the beginning of action plan, I have no clear idea what I'm going to do. My action plan is more like the trials and errors. But at the end of the plan, finally I figure out that I really reached something. Okay, so I really highly suggest the teachers try some of the beliefs or ideas you have in teaching and apply it to your action plan. It was very interesting because you are never going to find out the result. Okay, so here I just give them some widely assessment, and students are very curious about this. They told me, they asked me what this is about. I say this is about my action plan, and they ask me when they can know the result. They say after my action plan came to an end. Okay. But I don't have time to do some statistic, so I let them fill out the form. And after the action plan, I also give them some assessment as well. And based on Miss Helen Arison's lecture, I try to focus on content and language. Content, I let them know in interesting way. The topic things I want them to learn. Okay, like I can list my favorite things right away. I can name my intimate friends immediately. Or people research, or I hope to do list or relations planetary system. I set 2 goals for them. Okay, I can illustrate the closeness between me and my family members and friends. I can generate details to support merits and demerits of my family and friends I describe. Okay, and then I set language goal for them. Okay, interest based. They have to learn if they can use adjective or verb or noun, okay, to describe themselves. Okay, and all I have to do list. They can use the helping verbs like will, would to finish the list. Or the planetary system. They can use adjectives and use interesting detailed examples to support their ideas. And I'm from worksheet. They can use. Okay, they can tell the things about their childhood in the complete sentence, and by using past tense. Okay, and they can form a visual image in their reader's mind. And in ABC point, I hope that they can use the words they have learned in the 10th grade, and they can use the adjective clauses or the appositive. And the overall assessment for the action plan. Okay. And here is my reflection. In the process of carrying out my action plan, actually I try many things like hard match or like inner outer circle. I try to apply almost every activity I learned from SFU. I tried many different ways to group them. Okay.
But sometimes, for example, but sometimes it really takes a lot of time for them to find their own group, and some students started to complain, and some students say that, Christy, would you please just cram us all the reading material without us looking around and finding the partners? Okay. And some students even question me directly in class. When I faced the challenge like this, I started to go back. Roundup field pods try to remind us. We teach who we are. I have to speak my belief and what I've learned at SFU. Okay, even though I face some challenges and difficulties and pressure from my students. But I would say that this action plan, even though just as I mentioned before, it's just like kind of trials and errors. I really learned a lot from it, and students, most of them give me positive feedback. Okay, so this semester I'm still trying something new. Like I would make carrying out action plans become part of my teaching career. Okay, and that's all. Thank you.
Okay, so let's invite Yuan老师also. Now we're open for questions. Questions? Yes?
Okay, because I really appreciate the way that you use the hard match in teaching vocabulary. I think that that's very interesting for the students, because if we still use the old style teaching in vocabulary, just go on each word and explain it, it's really boring. And I'm very interested in this. And I'm very curious about how do you relate this word to your creative writing? Do you give some limited vocabulary for them to write, or they have to choose vocabulary for them to write?
They can choose from all the vocabularies. From one unit, they can choose by themselves.
Okay,
at least 5.
Oh,
okay.
So you have.
I just give the limitation for the numbers, but not the words.
So they can choose from, for example, Unit 1, there are 25 vocabulary. They can choose 5 from 25.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
And then I want to know, what is the purpose on page 117? You have this. Why you want the student to have a blank filling in this part? What is your purpose for that?
Sometimes I will just make it as a dictation.
Okay.
So I will read it, or if before I read it, maybe I will let them to make a guess. So if they are read through this article, what kind of words will they fit in? And after that, I will read the original writing. And so it could be used in different purpose.
So this is the work from the students, right?
Yes.
Okay, but because the blank part, the part that you want your student to write it down, is there any relationship with their learning in vocabulary?
You mean
all these blank parts?
Yes.
Are they the vocabulary based on this text?
Not exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so what I mean is, what is the purpose for that? For dictation.
I want to grab their attention in my reading.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is only for testing their reading ability.
Yes. And sometimes I will ask them to underline the vocabulary from the unit to see if they can recognize the words, new words from the unit.
Okay, so actually this is not related to what you did in the vocabulary teaching? Is it only for fun or for something else?
I think for practice.
Practice the listening.
Practice the listening, and also try to let them have their imagination to fill in the blanks with their own ideas.
All right. Okay. From my point, I do think that maybe you can choose some different passages. The passage got something, some vocabulary really related to what you teach. I think and then this activity will become more meaningful.
Okay. And for this paragraph, I choose this because this student didn't have a good academic performance in learning English, so I tried to post his writing to kind of encourage him, because I think the idea is very interesting. So I want to share it with the other students to appreciate this kind of creative writing. Just for fun.
Okay. So your purpose is encouraging lower learners about their works, and at the same time you want your students can focus on your reading.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because not every student can make this kind of good writing at the beginning. So sometimes I will select some of the lower learners, but they try their best. So they tried it very hard to write a paragraph. So I will also to post it or read it out to share with the class.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I have another question for the other teachers, because I like your action plan about the planetary system. But I wonder, are there any difficulties? Were there any difficulties when you were teaching them, and what did you find the advantages and the disadvantages in their writing in this part?
What I want is that they can. What I want to focus is that they can, describe their relationship with their family and family members. For some students, they really feel uncomfortable in writing English. I say that's okay. What I want to focus on is that you can share your own experience. Okay, and for the better English learner, I encourage them to write in English. And really, to my surprise, some of them really did a very good job. And it's really beyond my expectation. Yeah. Okay. Because time limits the pleasure from their exams, I don't have any follow-up activity. I think this is really the pity. If I have more time, maybe I can have more follow-up activity to get them to develop maybe a paragraph writing or something like that. It'd be more beneficial to them.
Because this is some kind of a distance between people and people, and because you use the plenary system. So I do wonder, do they really can logically listen the closeness between the people? So that means from the map, do they show the kind of a logical there? The closeness.
Yeah, I think I give them some examples. I mean, it's not about whether you live together. It's not about the distance between you and your friends. It's about a kind of understanding, kind of emotional support you can get from that person. Yeah, I want them to focus more on this, to figure out who are really important in their life.
Okay, what I mean is the distance, because maybe Moon and Earth, we are very close.
Yeah.
Okay?
So I give them, a kind of format, starting from some. And some students say, oh no, my parents is the center of my universe. So sun is my parents. They were made some adjustment. I think that's okay. Okay.
All right, and then I would like you have to some kind of research for that, because I think you set up very good rubrics but I don't know whether you did it during the procedures of teaching.
I am very, I have the idea in my mind but time limit. I really don't have time to carry out assessment. It's really a pity.
Yeah, because I think they will be very useful. Because you can monitor your student how to do it, and also you can have some kind of peer review for that.
Yeah. Actually, I would like to emphasize this in my presentation, but I forgot. And actually, I got an inspiration from you, from your workshop.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I wanted to thank you both for very inspiring presentations. I noticed that in both of your presentations, you were really focused on teaching curriculum. If you had big goals that you were working towards, teaching the vocabulary, teaching the writing. But I also noticed you're really building a relationship with your students by creating activities that have some creativity and opportunities for freedom. Could you describe how that has perhaps changed things in your classrooms? Has it changed maybe students' attitudes, performance, or their long-term learning?
Okay, so when I carry out, after I carry out this activity, I will ask them to write something, or I will try to read out their sentences or their creative writing. So I try to have interaction with them through their writing, to know them better, to know them more, and they can also know each other better through each other's writing or description. And I think that's create a very comfortable atmosphere in class, especially in learning language.
Okay, even though I have action plan to carry out, almost every week I would provide them with opportunity to write. And just like Joyce has mentioned in the morning, the questions are very handy. It's all in the textbook. Sometimes I just pass out the post-it and tell them, now please answer your response to questions for discussion. And students can really come up with great idea. And what impressed me most is that I come down with S1N1 for the week, so I cannot go to school. And then when I come back, when I went back to school, I'm teaching the last leaf in the first book, Far East, book 1. And I pass out a post-it again and ask them to write down if you have your friends are sick and they feel hopeless, can you give them some encouraging words to cheer them up? And I got 100 post-its back. Those are just like hearts written to me. I really feel, wow, I didn't ask them to write, text me or write any cards, but I really got a very, very precious response from them. And now I still keep those post-its in my, drawer. Yeah, this kind of benefits and kind of bonus I never expect something like this will turn out. Yeah.
We can see from the smiles on your faces. That's a very enriched experience.
Okay, any other questions?
Other questions? No? No other questions?
Miss Yan, I'm very interested in your second activity. I wonder if you use this activity every lesson or every unit or just once upon a time.
Because we have a 3 midterm exam, so I use once before every exam. Yeah. So maybe 3 times in a semester. And students quite look forward to having this kind of activity. So every time when I have class, they will expect, what are we going to play this time? So they will ask me, and I think they arouse their interest in learning. Okay. And I will try to use the different activities that what Christine also suggests. I will apply it into the different units to let them have some freshness in taking the class.
Sorry, I think playing bingo game was a great way to raise students' motivation. So I'm wondering if the teacher assign the word or the student choose the word.
It depends. Sometimes I will just point at the students and to read out the words randomly. So it get more excited. So each one of them can get the opportunity to read out the words, maybe more close to his goal to get a bingo line.
Good question. So in total, how many words?
How many words can they choose from? Because I see 16 blocks on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
But do they choose 16 out of the 25, or there are only 16 words, so that it's easier for them to get one?
16 from the 25.
I mean, when we teach a lesson, there will be about 20 to 30.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah,
I select the words I think which are meaningful or important they have to learn from this unit. So I select the words for them.
Any other questions?
Any questions? I want to thank you very much again for very, very informative presentations and a lot of hard work, I know, out of your busy schedule. So we really appreciate all your great effort. Thank you. Now, well, time for a short break. Tea time, yeah. But our little desserts and things came too early this morning, so we have half left. So please go enjoy what's left and take a little break and do come back at 3 o'clock and we'll do our last sharing. Thank you.